Okay, here we are.
Good morning. We made it. We made it. Right there. Right as I hit the button to go live, Stacy takes a big swig of water. And I'm like, I'm getting you. Support your brand. Support your brand. Yep. Sent you in the house.
You think I'd work here? I don't work here. I don't work for this company, but it's all good.
But she sure does enjoy their water. Welcome, everybody. It's Thursday morning, 10 a.m. You're on Real Estate Now. So Keith Pitch, your host, here with Stacy Chevalier. Good morning, Stacy.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yes, happy
Let's
to be here.
Right
to it.
Right
okay.
To it.
So I got to figure out where my mouse is. Rates are decreasing slightly. Okay. It's a 0.02% decrease. So
it's still a decrease.
It's a decrease. This is a movement in Stacy's camp, right? This is heading back towards her camp. She's saying things are still going to go down. There's a lot of talk, Stacy. I mean, all the talking heads out there are saying inflation, inflation, inflation. Except half of the Federal Reserve.
I have been saying go down, but they're down, and I this might be the last one. I don't know if next week I'm going to keep saying this, but I know I'm actually went there after like 16 months. I think we're going to start to head up. But
May 6th, 2021. May this day be marked in history that Stacy may be on the rates are going to go up train. But we'll see. I mean, you've got the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen going, "Oh, rates need to go up. Rates don't need to go up." I'm like, this is not inspiring a lot of confidence.
She said go up, meaning like 2023, right? And then it got published kind of a different way. I don't think she meant next week, but yeah,
right.
We should at some point here. We'll do a show on inflation for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, the inflation show. Well, right on. Today we're not talking about inflation at all. Today we're talking about social media for all of our industry professionals out there that are looking to take advantage of one of the, I think, really overlooked social platforms out there, LinkedIn, right? So joining us today, Stacy, who's joining us today?
Today we have our friend Alex Sheridan joining us from Chicago. So let's bring Alex in. Hi, Alex.
What's up, guys? What's up?
So I got introduced to Alex. I don't know exactly when, but from my buddy Chris Medine in Arizona. I think that's how we hooked up, right, Alex? I don't
for sure.
Remember, but so I've been on board. Now we have my team on board. I can't say enough about Alex and his company. So let's get into it.
So tell us about your company, Alex.
Right into it, yeah. So
just jump right into it.
Maybe just a background of like how you got started.
Yeah,
really
cool. So I was gonna say. So I'll take you guys back. So before COVID, late 2019, I was working at a large corporation, multi-billion-dollar company. I was there for 6 years. Had a good career there. Good people. I liked the company. But I always felt like there was something else that I needed to be doing. There was always this back of my mind. I was always doing kind of entrepreneurial type things. And Jay, what's up? And so I always had this inclination that I was like, I want to at least try to start my own company and see what this whole entrepreneurship thing's like. And I was going to start a sales consulting company because that's what my background mostly was. I jump on LinkedIn, late 2019, and everything changes. I start creating video content. I start adding in my personality. I start doing some edutainment type videos. And right away, I noticed that people were starting to come to me. And they were saying things like, hey, how are you creating these videos? And what's the deal with LinkedIn? And should we get on it? Can you win business here? And the light bulb went off.
Who were these people? Like, were they old coworkers? Were they friends? Like, who was reaching out initially?
No coworkers, no friends, no family. They were all doubters for a long time. And but it was just random people. It was just people I didn't know that would, they were business owners, founders, entrepreneurs, employees, and they would just ask me about LinkedIn and how I'm creating these videos, and it was attracting people. And they weren't even that good, to be honest. Like the stuff I'm doing now compared to back then, I look back and I'm like, but I also look back and smile because of the progress. But so anyway, so the light bulb goes off in my head and I'm like, you know what? I think LinkedIn's going to be really big over the next few years. And I think creating video content, the whole personal branding thing, social selling, I just got a hunch that it's going to be like the next thing. I just going to be big. Now, granted, this is before COVID, right? So this is late 2019. So I decide January 2020, I'm going all in on this. Content marketing, LinkedIn, social selling. I pivot my business, still working the full-time job. February 2020, I win my first customer in this business. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like working my full-time job and I'm like so pumped. I'm so excited.
So did you, sorry, I keep interrupting with questions.
You're
Did
good.
you at that time, was the company built? Did you have a company name, or were you just like, you're my first client and then you built it?
Yeah, pretty much. It was very organic. It was very, I mean, I did have the company, I had the company name, but I had like a crappy website. I had no clue what I was doing at that point. It was just like fly by the seat of the pants. We'll figure it out as we go. And I just always put my customers first. I always service the heck out of them. I would do anything to make sure they're successful ethically. And so that was February 2020. And then literally like 3 or 4 weeks later, COVID hits. And all of a sudden now, everything that I thought was going to happen, digital, virtual, social selling, video content, it went 5 to 10 years in advance. It just expedited the entire process that we were all going to go through anyways. Work from home, like all that stuff was going to happen, but COVID just expedited it for 5 to 10 years. And so from February, and everyone was like, Alex, I have no more in-person events. I can't shake people's hands. All the live gate stuff got canceled. Can you help me with my video content? Can you help me with this whole social media thing? So my business kind of took off. And from February 2020, winning my first customer, to July 2020, 6 months later, I was making more money at this business than I was in my full-time job. And so it kind of got to a place where I was like, there's no better time to go. I made the jump and I've been doing this ever since.
So you worked both jobs for like that first 6 months. So you were like,
yeah, it was rough. It was rough. It was rough. I mean, every single night I get done on my full-time job and then I would go straight into this side hustle, work till 11, 12 o'clock at night. Every single weekend, if I wasn't with my kids, I was busting my ass. I mean, I had 1 day off. I kid you not. And I think like a 6 to 8 month period, 1 day off where I actually took the whole day and didn't do any work.
Yeah.
So it was a lot.
It's important to talk about the hustle, right? Because those people, I think most of us know there's hustle behind it, but sometimes you just feel like it's an overnight success and you don't hear that story of how much time and effort it took.
And it's definitely not. And it definitely depends on what you want out of life and what you want to do. To me, this was so important to me. I was willing to risk 6 months, or not risk, but really willing to sacrifice 6 months or 12 months of not having a dating life, not going out, not seeing my friends. Like I basically just lived in the business. But I said, hey, if I can do this, if I can make this short-term sacrifice, long-term, I can create an amazing life for me, my kids, whoever else comes into our lives. And so I just decided in that moment that I'm going to sacrifice some things early on, put in the work, and create my dream life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So Impacts.
Yeah.
Impacts is your business. And so now what does that look like? Wow, we're a whole another year in front of that. You've taken some time off in the last year, right, Alex? At least a little bit of free time?
No, I have. No, I have. I'm kidding. No, I have. I've taken some trips with my girls. My 2 daughters. I went to Nashville a couple weeks ago. And yeah, my days are I'm a little more structured these days.
Awesome.
You know? Yeah.
So tell us what your days are filled with. What structure do you put in those days? How are you helping your clients?
Yeah. So a lot of it is client stuff or meetings, Zoom meetings, a lot of calls, client calls. There's some content creation in there as well. There's some live coaching sessions. It really just depends on the day. Each day, like Monday and Tuesday, I know are very heavy meeting days. So I'm meeting with a lot of potential clients, a lot of sessions. I've got my creative crew live sessions. Any type of group training I'm doing is typically Monday and Tuesdays. I load those 2 days up. And then Wednesdays, I don't do any meetings basically. And it's all production, marketing, behind the scenes type stuff. Thursdays, kind of a mix. And then Friday, typically I'm done by 1 o'clock. So, I might have a couple meetings in the morning, but I'm done by 1 o'clock. Now, does that mean if I don't, work a little bit later, of course, in the day sometimes, but I pretty much block off my calendar. So, I don't start my day with meetings until I think 10 a.m. is the earliest you could start a meeting with me. So I block off that beginning part for just me to be in the business, to do the things I needed to do, and write my scripts, write my content, get creative, that kind of stuff. I've learned that when I first started the business, I let my calendar and my clients control me. I was just all over the place. Like I had no dedication. I was making videos and trying to edit them the night before I'd post it. It was a disaster, but I was just trying to figure things out, and I was working the full-time job and trying to balance it all. And it was just a cluster. And so once I left my full-time job, I'm like, I need to put in processes and systems and block off calendar times. And it really helped me get control back of my life, where for a while it was just like, it was a lot of work.
Yeah,
That's
but in a
powerful.
short period, you went from that one first person, whoever they were, to how many people do you have now? People, these organizations, I mean,
Yeah, hundreds. We've trained. Yeah, it's got to be close to 200 by now between the group trainings, company trainings, entrepreneurs, individuals. Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride.
So I
So let
joined
me ask
just myself, but who else? Like, what are the groups you're helping? Are they individuals? Are they companies? Kind of walk us through what your span is of your expertise.
Yep. So there's kind of three categories, if you will. The first one is your entrepreneurs, your founders, your solopreneurs. They want to get on LinkedIn. They've certainly got a story to tell. They've certainly got a brand they want to build. They want to win clients. They come to me and I just help them get on the path to success as quick as possible. The second kind is where you're dipping into the smaller to medium-sized companies. And that's typically me working with the CEO. Like, for example, right now I'm working with the owner of a staffing company, and he's got a team of, I believe, 15. And, multi-million-dollar company, they're doing really, really well, but they realize that, hey, we don't have much of a brand on LinkedIn. We need to get on LinkedIn and change that. And we need to start attracting customers to us and telling the story and that kind of stuff. And then the third kind is more of which is newer for me, is the larger companies, the hundreds of millions of dollars in business and revenue, the multi-billion dollar companies, because a lot of these companies, so it's interesting because the smaller you are, the faster you can make changes, right? If I'm talking to one founder, you guys know this. If I'm talking to a founder of a company, I can make a decision like that. If I see something, I like it, boom, I'm done. I pay for it. We're good to go. You get a little bit bigger, still kind of easy, but there may be a couple hurdles. You start getting into hundreds of millions of dollars or multi-billion dollar companies. Now you're talking about a whole other layer of, decision makers and bureaucracy and all kinds of stuff that, is put in place for good. It's put in place because as you scale, you have to have certain things in place. Otherwise, it's just a wild, wild west. But there's more friction in terms of getting deals done and doing things that are good for the company. So naturally, I started off lower friction, and now I'm working my way up. I also had to give it time and be patient with companies, because companies for a long time, we were talking about a little bit about this behind the scenes, but it used to be a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it's like, should we get on LinkedIn? Should we get on LinkedIn, build our personal brand? Should we have our team out there? Do they need to know how to social sell, attract clients to them? And now it's not should anymore. It's we need to do this. The question is, when or how fast can we do it, and how much better can we do it than our competitors before they start kicking our butts? So it's the mindset has shifted. You guys you're still way early on, which is going to be really beneficial for you guys when competitors start doing it a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, and you guys are like, you're a little late to the game, bro. Like, we've been dominating for years now, So that's what I'm telling companies: invest now. Invest now before all your competitors get on and it becomes way more saturated. Because with every social media platform, the same things happens every single time. Eventually, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, LinkedIn will be much more saturated. It's already starting. There'll be more ads that are running. It's going to be harder to get attention versus if you start now and build up the community, build up the audience now.
There's a couple things. So since I'm in the group, I know, Keith, you're not in the one of those groups yet. Maybe you will be soon. Yes. There's a couple of things that I love about what you do, Alex. You really connect with people on LinkedIn. Like, I feel like I know you. I feel like we've already had dinner together. We've done all of that, and we've never met, right? But I feel that with you, and you make everybody feel that way, which is really incredible. The other thing you do so well, you do a lot of things well, but you do say unleash the creative, right? It's part of your branding, and you are so creative in your videos. It's not like I'm trying to get there. It's something I need to learn. How do companies react to that? Like, when you're talking to staffing companies, like, are you teaching them to get as creative as you, or is it more just, let's just get you on LinkedIn in your own kind of style? How do you determine that? Because you are so creative.
Yeah, it's a great question. So my job is just to help people unleash their own creativity, right? And it's not like it all comes out at once. It's not like a light bulb goes off and you just poof, you're just the most creative person ever. Even for me, if you had gone back in 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and said, go make a creative video for social media, I would have been like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that would even be. Like, I've never done video. I'm not a video person. That's what I would have told you 2 years ago.
Wow.
Think about that, right? Isn't that crazy? People are like, you're so creative. I'm like, only because I put myself out there and tried so many times, and I made so many bad videos that just like were embarrassing, you know? But so first of all, you have to put yourself out there. So part of my job, my job is to get people to where they've got good systems, processes, they've got a game plan, they've got a strategy, they know how to see social media, connect with their clients or audience. But then the unleash to creative part is like, I know for a fact that everyone has creative, everyone has potential, everyone has so many things, stories to share with the world that they've just trapped inside them their entire lives. And I was that way up until my early 30s, where I was like, I just, where was this my whole life? Where was this guy? Like he was here. I just, because of insecurities, because I didn't grow up around creative people, because my company was a little bit more rigid professional, like I just didn't unleash it, but it was there the entire time. So as I started unleashing my creative, I looked around and I was like, it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And so my job, my mission became just, I'm going to help 1 million plus people unleash their creative in their own unique way, whatever that looks like for them. I don't try to teach people to do exactly what I do, because that may not work for them. That may not be their thing, but certainly their thing may not be my thing, right? So everyone's kind of got their own thing. The question, because when you're talking about social media, you can't get on there and be ultra boring. You can't be on there and just share facts all day. Certainly there's an educational element to it. You do want to show up as the expert, but you also need to have some fun. You need to show some personality. You need to show some creativity. You need to catch people's attention in the feed. And that's what I really built a lot of my brand around, was that edutainment, where I'm going to bring a good solid message to you, but it's going to be delivered in a pretty fun package that you're excited to consume and you want to come back.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think I love what you said there, because so many people try to just copy what other people do, and it's not genuine to them. And boy, can you see that right out the gate. It's like, oh, yeah, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And you go next. So that's awesome.
We did have one something we've talked about. Sorry, I know we have a question in the chat, but to your point, like, I'm not this funny actor like Alex can get away with, but you know what? I'm going to do it. And so someone might look at me and be like, that's not Stacey, but I feel like it kind of is. Like, you just haven't seen it yet, right? So I think there's a fine line between being not yourself and unauthentic and just taking the risk to kind of grow outside yourself. So I think whoever's watching, kind of keep that in mind, that you can stretch yourself and still be genuine.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I would say too, like, think about who you actually are at the core, right? It's like, I think about myself, I didn't really change. Like, if you talk to my old coworkers or bosses, I was the guy that showed up at 5:30 in the morning at my job, my previous job. I had a lot of freaking energy. I was charismatic. I was enthusiastic. I was very positive. I was motivational. I cracked jokes. I made people smile. Every single person that worked with me, they tell you the exact same thing. I kid you not. Now, would they tell you about how great I was at making creative videos? No. Did they tell you I was a social media expert? No. I had to figure that out and figure out how I fused my personality with the social media game and element. So to Stacey's point, if you feel like you're kind of silly and you got some things to you that are like that's some stuff that you should explore for sure, because that's who you are. That's not you trying to be somebody else. It's just, you're just bringing out what's already in there.
How do you, we're going to get to Tim, we're going to get to your question. We'll definitely.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this a little bit in my feeds and what have you. Like, we've definitely evolved in this COVID time to go 5 years into the future. But I mean, there's some folks out there that have been like super suit and tie on their social appearance, and it's really not genuine to them. So it's kind of the counterpart. How do you help them bring themselves from what they've built in the history, right? So should we just look back at our feeds and say, okay, time to start over and just bring me to the table? Or what's your counseling in that respect?
Yeah, and it does depend on your audience, right? So like, you should look at your audience and think, when you're creating your content strategy, and think, what do they care about? How do they think? Yeah, I think this is one of the big misses where people don't spend enough time on, is where is your audience at? And what type of language do they use? And what do they care about? What do they want to hear about? What are they struggling with? Because if you can't get on social media and speak your customer's language and really hit them right in the heart and right in the minds where it counts, they're not going to resonate with the message, right? So we talk a lot about like not using crazy lingo, industry lingo and stuff, because it's like, If your customers don't understand that, they're going to flip right by it. So I dumb things down all the time, and I'm like, yo, your videos are too long. They're too boring. Now,
Gotcha.
here's what to do about it. I'm going to help you. Okay. It's all good. You want your videos to be seen by your clients and you want to make money, right? Yes. Cool. Let me show you how to do that. It's that simple, right? It's like I talk to my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter. I'm like, daddy does this, this, and this. Like, that's how almost simplistic you have to get sometimes, but you really got to understand your client's lingo. When it comes to the dress and suit and tie stuff, it's easier nowadays because you can, if you look through the feed, how much suit and tie stuff do you see? You know, it's like, it's going away. I mean, look at even popular business leaders. They're not dressed like decked out in suits, ties, all this fancy stuff. Thankfully, I mean, people should be respectable, right? I'm not going to show up here wearing like a Dago tee and be like, what's up, guys? You know, like, I think you need to look respectable, but at the same time, times are changing, and, you know, what was deemed as professional 5-10 years ago is a little bit different now. I look at people just for their character and what they have to say. So if you're in a suit and tie and you're next to a guy in a shirt like the long sleeve or button or whatever it is, that doesn't matter to me. I'm going to judge you based on what you say. Once you start talking, I'll know right away. Are you full of it or are you legit? And I can tell, I'm pretty intuitive. I can usually tell. So I'll just sit back, wait for people to start talking. Let me hear what you got to say, and then I'll make my decision. But it's not going to be about what you're wearing. It's going to be about your character, what you say, how you treat people, and the value that you provide.
Value you provide, right there. Absolutely. So I wanted to circle back really quick on a more technical question. Tim Flood says, what video editing software are you using?
So I'll give you a couple tips. Because I don't edit my own videos anymore, right? So I have a team that does that. But I did edit my own videos for a long time, and I still do bits and pieces for trimming. There's a couple different things, and you got to think about your long-term plan for video editing, right? So if you're, you know, Stacy, or you're me, or you're, you know, business owner, or you're an employee, and you're not going to become a professional video editor, you probably want to look at outsourcing, which you can do on Upwork or Fiverr, and you can source by somebody that's between $7 to $10 an hour. And for cost of living where they're at, that makes sense for them, and you can hire those folks, and you screen out good people, and they do a great job for you. If you're not going to do that, but you want to dabble in editing yourself, that's okay. I would recommend doing just simple apps like InShot or Capwing, where you can hop on the desktop and you plug in your video. You can add a quick banner, subtitle, same thing. You can add a quick banner, subtitles. It's pretty simple. That's a good kind of do it yourself if you're not going to outsource. If you do want to dive in and say, hey, I want to start learning video editing, like I got super into it for a while, but then I got to a point where I was like, all right, unless I want to become a professional video editor, I got to like let this thing go. And I did. my business wouldn't have grown if I would have kept doing more editing, because I was doing editing. It took several hours to do one of the creative videos. And I was like, I can't grow my business doing this, of course, right? So you got to outsource. That outsource is a beautiful thing. But if you want to learn the skill and really build it, then you would jump into something like Adobe Premiere Pro or Filmora, and there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do in there. So I would say 3 options. You're either going to get serious with video editing, Adobe, Filmora. You're going to do it yourself easily with InShot, Capwing, something like that, or you're going to outsource it through Upwork or Fiverr.
So when people work with you, if they do want to do this themselves, or for whatever reason they want to, it's budget, I don't know, do you teach them how to use Filmora? Like, do you have?
I do, but I usually I do have a module for that, yeah, and I walk step by step. You could 100% learn it all, but I always discourage it in most cases because, you know, again, it takes a while to get. It's a skill, right? So you're not going to be this amazing, even if you watch everything step by step. There's nuances. There's things that it took me months of just grinding every night trying to learn video editing by myself. And really, I should have outsourced sooner, to be honest. That was a mistake on my part. I just didn't know. But unless you're really going to dedicate yourself to the skill, you're going to end up spending a lot of time editing, and it's not going to look that great because you're not that good at it yet. And you're going to have a finished piece of product that took you a long time and it doesn't look that good, when you could say, all right, if I'm going to spend 2 hours editing a video, could I outsource that for $8 to $10 an hour, spend, $16 to $20, and then spend 2 hours in my business where I'm probably worth more than that per hour anyways. And that makes more sense for me, my business, my company.
But it's not as simple as just finding an editor, right? Like, it took you some some misses before you really dialed it
Oh,
in?
for sure.
You
Yeah, for
teach that
sure.
too, right? How to
Yeah, for
do
sure.
that?
It's a process that it's just like, it's almost like hiring an employee. That's how I think the biggest miss with video editing and outsourcing is that people treat it like they're just I just want to find somebody great right off the bat and I'm just going to pay them and just go do your thing. And they treat them very as an outsourced person. I take them in and I'm like, I want to get to know you. If we're going to work together closely, I want to know you, your goals. What do you want out of life? Where are you trying to go? Let's get creative together. How can we push each other? How can we make each other better? Let's try some new things. I tell them, unleash your creative, so it's everything goes back to the brand. So you have to work with people. For example, my best editor right now, and I love this guy to death, and I would do anything for him basically in his business and wherever he wants to go in life. I would do free mentoring and I try to talk to him about where he wants to go. When he first sent me the video back to me, I literally was like, I don't know if I want to work this guy. I was like, it wasn't that, I wasn't impressed, right? And I was doing all my own stuff and I was like, this is not what I'm looking for, And I said, you know what, let me try it a couple more times. I gave him some direction. We tweaked some things together. And now in my mind, I think he's the best, if not one of the best editors on LinkedIn. I mean, and I have two other people that are phenomenal too, but it didn't. And people are like, Alex, how do I find somebody like that? And I'm like, that's not how it started though. That would be like you hiring somebody and then 12 months later been like, I want your employee. It's like, well, that's not the person I hired. That's the person that we developed together. We grew together. We got more creative together. He makes me more creative. And my other editor, she makes me more creative and vice versa. And so it's a team effort.
So for a video that takes you 7 hours to edit, how long would it take someone that does this full time that you're outsourcing to?
So it depends. Like when I say 7 hours, I'm talking about the highly creative ones, right? Where there's green screen, there's multiple characters, there's transitions or effects. Like those are complex. And I wouldn't recommend diving into those if you're going to do your own videos. Those are very complex to edit. And so it would take them still 7 to 8 hours to edit a very complex video. They just would do it way better than I would. They just have more tricks up their sleeve. That's all they do. I mean, that's literally all they do every single day. So their potential was so much higher than mine when it comes to editing because I wasn't going to become a professional video editor. And I'm so happy I trusted them I gave up some freedom or some creative freedom in the videos and handed it over to them. But it was the best thing I ever did. It changed my life.
Well, I think one thing that's very apparent, Alex, to me is that you just jumped in and you did it and you grinded it out and you got to grind. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, they give up, right? They get that first edit back and they're like, oh, I can't do this. It doesn't look right. It's not going to encapsulate what I want to do instead of continuing to build that relationship. So that's powerful stuff, man.
One more quick thing on the editor, the outsource thing. I look for potential. Just like you're hiring, Stacey, you're hiring for people, you look for potential, character, right? The willingness to learn. Do they want to dive in? Do they want to take on things, take some chances? That's what I look for in the editor. So I just do a couple videos because I'm building my stable of editors out too. And as I hire new people, I'm looking for, are they excited about what we're trying to build? Are they excited about creativity, to try new things? Are they eager? Are they saying things like, hey, next time I'm going to do it even better. I'm going to try something. And I'm like, yes, let's go. Those are the people that I want versus the people that are just kind of going through the motions.
Yep. That's awesome. So we've got like 2 minutes. What would you say would be a great place to start for people that wanted to interact with you, Alex, and your company more and get their LinkedIn popping?
So you can reach out to me, obviously on LinkedIn, Alex B. Sheridan. I'm all over LinkedIn, and or email asheridan@impacts.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and some of the other YouTube and some of the other ones too. But, I would say to anyone that wants to get started on LinkedIn, just start posting. You got to start. And even if you're like, hey, I'm not sure what to post, think about your audience, think about what they would care about. But even aside from just posting yourself, go engage with other people's posts. Just get on the platform and start to have some conversations. So it's not a platform where you can just post and then walk away. You do need to build, relationships. You need to build community. So get on there. If do a 1 post a week, 2 posts a week, and then go find other people's posts, maybe potential customers even, and just show them love, show them support, figure out what's working in their posts, study the newsfeed. That's how I learned basically everything. I just studied shows like, why did this all of a sudden get really a lot of traction? What works in this video that caught my attention? Why would I, and I just studied. And then I did my own work and made mistakes and failures, and I learned from that and tried to get better with every post. And so it's a process, but it's worth it.
But it's worth it. There it is. Absolutely.
I never said it was easy, but I did say it was worth it.
Nothing worthwhile is easy.
That's right. That's right.
So,
and we have coaches for like other things in our life, right? Business.
Oh, yeah.
Gym coaches, food coaches.
Yeah.
Like you need a social coach.
Yeah, I mean, why you could go if you want to go through everything I went to try to learn it, then go for it. But be willing to dedicate your entire life for 6 to 12 months. You know, I'd rather going back in time now. I would have paid myself 5 times what I would pay myself to just fast track that whole process. Of course.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Take somebody else's experience and utilize it. So
absolutely.
Right on. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping our Loan Depot team here in the Pacific Northwest. And
I love you guys.
Excited for more people to find you and find the success with you. You're one of a kind. So
thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
I think I will be.
You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Well, you know, I logged on to my LinkedIn account before this meeting. I'm like, oh my Lord, this is a mess.
We should have you do some auditing, Alex. We should have you back on.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Alec Hansen does that and he pulls up stuff. That would be fun.
Yes.
And start with Keith.
I'm down to do that.
Oh, joy.
I'm down to do that, guys.
We'll do that in the next few months. That would be cool.
Cool. Let's make it happen.
Right on.
All right.
Have a good one, Alex.
Thank you, guys.
Catch you later.
See ya.
So there you have it.
So fun. I don't mean to give you crap, Keith. I know you're solid on social. So he has some really good tips and tricks.
I'm sure he does. And it's a platform that I've wanted to get back into, and I just haven't. I was a really early adopter, and then everything else bolstered up, and I didn't get back to it. So it's time. So right on. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this week. We'll catch you next Thursday at 10 a.m. for Real Estate Now. Have a great week. And